Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pinstriped Prospects Podcast, episode number 5 of season 2. We're happy to be back with you once again. I'm Ricky Keeler, along with my partner in crime, James O'Connell. James, welcome back. How are you?
Doing all right, I guess. Confused. Spring is going along. People are making impressions. It's a good day to be a Jonathan Loizaga stan. So, all in all, decent.
Yeah, the Yankees have done a lot of winning over the past week, but I've always had the question, do we reset the number of days without a Yankee injury, or does Aaron Judge's pectoral muscle injury make that back to zero?
It seems like it's just like a new thing every episode, but except this is kind of a previous thing where last week we were like, oh yeah, he's fine. Like Aaron Boone said he's playing in games next week. He's cool. Nothing to worry about here. And now here we are in this week, and we haven't seen Aaron Judge even taking live batting practice at this point. I'm incredibly concerned because they're taking all these tests, and nothing's coming up, and there's something still bothering them. So that's what really concerns me, because the same thing happened to Luis Severino, taking MRI after MRI, and they pull this whatever test, whatever MRI, and there's Tommy John. So I'm almost waiting for notification on my phone. The Yankees just created a new type of test to show that Aaron Judge has a torn rotator cuff. Like I'm waiting for it. I'm trying not to be negative, but I just feel like that's where we're heading.
We do remind you, of course, you can interact with us at any time during the week. You can tweet us at Pinstripe Pros. That's Pinstripe Prospects Twitter account. You can always tweet me on Twitter at Rickinator555. If you have any questions, comments, you can call to our voicemail number, 908-376-6360. Again, it's 908-376-6360. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and give us that 5-star rating. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If you want to hear any guests or any specific topics you want us to discuss, we want to hear from you. The show is about you. So please feel free to do that. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram as well. And James, I want to go back to the Aaron Judge thing in particular. Something stood out to me Tuesday afternoon between Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone. I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago or a few weeks ago when we started up the podcast. You got Brian Cashman saying, well, I don't think Judge – this is from our good friend Eric Bolin at Newsday. If you missed it last week, go download. Eric was great. Cashman earlier regarding Judge and opening day, I don't see him ready by opening day because of the time frame, 3.5 weeks, which makes sense. Then you have Aaron Boone. I don't know. I think we're going to sit here and speculate. I think it's premature and more testing being done. It just seems to me like Boone is making the timetables earlier than what Brian Cashman's making them, and I don't know if it's Aaron Boone trying to stay on the side of the player to try to hope they come back, and Cashman kind of being that guy in the middle that doesn't want to set the bar too low. But you would feel like the GM and the manager would be on the same wavelength, and it seems on injury news over the last year they just aren't.
Yeah, I think this is just a situation of having two different personalities. So Aaron Boone is kind of the positive, uppity guy, as he is as a manager. That's why the Yankees brought him in. He's a nice dude. He's positive. He tries not to get too down on himself. Brian Cashman, on the other hand, is notorious for being incredibly negative. If you remember during the offseason, everyone was saying how Brian Cashman was so skeptical about Garrett Cole coming to the Yankees because of the obsession with the West Coast, and was kind of finding every excuse to tell himself that they're not going to get this guy. It's a weird way to go about things. But I don't think it's a matter of them being on different pages or them getting different information. I think it's just them interpreting the news they're getting differently, because these are just two immensely different personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Aaron Boone, to me, he wants to keep it a positive mindset, and at the same time stressing next man up. And the Yankees have, I think, pretty good outfield options. Yes, Giancarlo Stanton hurt his calf working out. We're going to get into specifics on Giancarlo Stanton in a minute. But you got Miguel Andujar playing well in the outfield, which is a good sign. It's early, but he hasn't really done anything to screw up in the outfield yet. Neither has Clint Frazier. And you've seen a lot of talk about Rosel Herrera, a guy we talked about a couple weeks ago who was standing out in the first couple games. And every time he's had a chance to play, when you've got the manager talking good things about you, you might not be on the team to start the year, but you could make your way on the team with another injury or two, which it's safe to say you can probably maybe bank on the Yankees having another injury or two.
Well, you can always bank on that. That's kind of just how – that's the type of team we have here at this point. It's really scary how over the course, like one season turns the thought process of this team to an injury-prone group. Like Giancarlo Stanton, sure, he always had his injuries. But 2019 changed a lot of the perception of a lot of people's careers on this team. Aaron Judge is now kind of looked at as injury-prone. Aaron Hicks, I guess, has always kind of been looked at in that light, but Gary Sanchez kind of injury-prone. Some of these guys on this team weren't looked at as injury-prone prior to last season. It just seems like the Yankees haven't been able to kind of get it together on that front since last year.
And the Aaron Judge front, you get that you want to see him play 140, 150 games, but you just get the sense that I don't know if we're going to see that anytime soon. We're definitely not going to see it this year, I don't think, especially if he's not playing opening day. But is he now a player that, listen, he's just going to you have to have 120, 130 games, and that's where the outfield depth the Yankees acquire or keep is critical for this team because you can't rely on playing Judge and Stanton every day in the outfield.
I just don't want to get to the point where we're putting Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton in the same breath in terms of injury prone. I get that, people, Aaron Judge has had his fair share of injuries in 2019, 2018 and whatnot, but 2018 I almost completely erased because he got hit in the wrist. Like there's nothing he could really do about that. I don't really count that as like this is an injury prone guy. He got hit in the hand by like a 99 mile an hour fastball. That's not on him. But last year was just seemed like a little bit of a body breaking down with the oblique, and even 2017 he had that kind of shoulder injury. So I don't want to yet put Aaron Judge in the category of Giancarlo Stanton injury proneness because Giancarlo Stanton, there's literally another injury every other week. Like that's just the type of player he's been for a long time. It's a different thing every single week with him, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But Aaron Judge is not like that. I don't think. I don't want to put him in that category just yet. But we're a significant injury away from really having that discussion.
Getting to Giancarlo Stanton now, actually, and that's the frustrating thing because you saw kind of last season when Giancarlo Stanton's on a roll and he was starting to get that way in the playoffs. It's really fun to watch. I know people on Twitter have mentioned 2018 where Stanton played almost every game when the Yankees were battling injuries in the outfield, and you have to think that took an effect on him to a degree. But to now have his season start later than normal, and you just get the sense where now you have cases where you have debates between New York baseball teams of who plays more, Giancarlo Stanton or Yoenis Cespedes, which I don't know who to take in that one. It's really up in the air where Stanton now probably is, even when he comes back, I can't really trust him playing in the outfield on a regular basis. He's going to have to be my DH at least 4 or 5 times a week, but that's a position the Yankees have to rotate to keep guys fresh.
I agree that this is your DH because this guy gets hurt doing outfield drills. Like that, I was talking to my friends, like people play football, play basketball, play other sports that are just so much more physical. And they don't get hurt like that, like this often. Like we're just, this isn't a normal thing that's been going on with this team and with Giancarlo Stanton. How do you get hurt doing outfield drills? It doesn't I'm not a Giancarlo Stanton hater. I'm not. I was a Giancarlo Stanton believer. It's just that it's so frustrating because you want to see him on the field. You want to see this guy that you trade for because people have this conception of him that. Sorry, there's a misconception here that in 2018 he carried the Yankees during like a stretch. Someone point me to that stretch statistically because I don't did we watch a different season? I see it all over Twitter with the Giancarlo Stanton defenders, and mind you, I am one. But let's be real here. At one point, did he carry the 2018 Yankees? When Aaron Judge was out, I think I had the stats up. He was batting like 210. There was no point where Giancarlo Stanton was carrying this offense. It was Miguel Andujar who was carrying that offense in 2018. Giancarlo Stanton had the furthest thing from an impressive season. We were calling a walk-off home run against the Seattle Mariners in the regular season in the dog days of the year. His Yankee moment. That's how underwhelming he was in 2018. So let's not put this out there that he was this absolute beast in 2018 and they couldn't have won 100 games without him. He was not that good. He was very underwhelming. It's so weird to me that people put these theories out there that he was so good in 2018 and he was there for the team and carrying and this and that. I absolutely give Giancarlo Stanton all the credit for staying on the field in 2018 and playing through injury. But don't sit here and tell me that he carried that offense in 2018. He didn't. That is just false. So get on the field, man. Like, just get on the field and show us the dude that we thought we traded for here. That you're a 2017 National League MVP. Where is that? I haven't seen it. And a part of it's him not being on the field, but even when he's on the field, he has not produced, whether it be in the postseason or in the regular season. He is the last guy you want coming up in a big spot. So I'm not so much as pissed about the injuries as I am about when he's been on the field and completely underperforming. Sure, the injuries are annoying, but that's what's going to come with him. But man, when you get on that field, you have to perform like the guy you traded for, the guy you signed that contract. I'm not done with Giancarlo Stanton. I said before, I'm a believer in him. I think there's a chance he's going to be fine. This injury specifically is being slightly overblown because we're talking about a calf strain here. We're not talking about season-ending surgery. He might be back the second series of the year. He might be back for opening day, according to Aaron Boone. But we'll see, man. I had high hopes for him coming to the year, and we're not off to a good start.
I will say this, that maybe carrying in 2018 is a bit of a stretch. I will agree with that. The guy did play 158 games for a team that really doesn't want you to play more than 135, 140 games maximum. So I'm guessing there were times, like, don't remember like the specific when Judge was on the injured list or Hicks might have been on the injured list, where the Yankees really just didn't have any real outfielders to play, and Giancarlo maybe had to play through injuries because they just didn't have any bodies at that point. Mm-hmm. So I will give him that.
Mm-hmm. Well, how can you? I said I give him all the credit in the world for battling through injury 2018, but where was that in 2019? And where is that now for a calf strain in outfield drills? Like, where is that now? Where was that fire that we saw in 2018 battling through that? That I give you all the credit in the world for, Giancarlo Stanton. I don't give you credit for how you performed that year, but battling, like, where is that? Where's like the toughness that we saw? I haven't seen it. I can't even wrap my head around someone getting hurt during outfield drills. Nevertheless, a Major League Baseball player.
So taking a look at what it means for the opening day outfield in Baltimore, and I think now you've got the case where James, for me, I got to play Andujar at DH out of the gate. I know it looks like you saw the lineup against the Red Sox on Tuesday, which kind of looks like the opening day lineup. Mike Tauchman was the DH today. I kind of like to at least start off the year with Tauchman in the outfield just to have a little stability with Gardner and Frazier. And I kind of just want to keep Andujar focused on his offense right away and the defense, at least in spring, maybe sprinkle him in to start the year. But I think it's more important to keep Andujar's bat in line and have Tauchman the steady defender at least early.
Yeah, I see that side, but I think there's also a point where if there's a time to play Miguel Andujar in left field, it's with Garrett Cole on the mound against the Baltimore Orioles. Like, that's kind of where I stand with that. He's looked pretty comfortable out there in left field. I was pretty hard on him a couple of weeks back, saying I don't want to see a glove on his hand. That he's kind of changing my tune a little bit, being in left field. He looks comfortable. He's gliding out there. He's tracking down. He looks like a normal left fielder. I feel a hell of a lot more confident in him in left field and third base, and I've only seen a couple innings out there. I don't know how you feel about that, but I would much rather see him in left field than at third base. But to your point, I think right now, as it stands, I think the DH is probably the best spot from an opening day if Giancarlo Stanton and Judge are out. Just because, like you said, you want to maybe focusing on hitting and stuff like that. And there's guys that, going to get their opportunities. So Tauchman is a good defender out there. You have Gardner. Clint Frazier is going to get a shot. So all in all, I've been impressed with Miguel Andujar in left field, how he's adapted to that change. But I think I'm kind of leaning towards your point to maybe put him at DH opening day. But I wouldn't be mad about it if he was in left field opening day.
No, not at all. And I think the expectation is low for Andujar in left field. To me, it's just don't screw anything up. And for right now, he's made the routine plays look easy. And for a guy that didn't really play the outfield, that's an accomplishment of itself. He's taking good routes to the ball. He's handling pop-ups well. He's not stumbling out in the field. He's at least judging the wind well, which is tough to do in spring training because you never know which direction the wind blows. So to me, he's passed the test at least early. I'm not expecting him to be like a Gold Glove outfielder, nor is Frazier.
No.
Just with this pitching staff that is a little bit hobbled to begin the year, don't make bad plays that extend innings.
I've just had an image in my head that kind of changed my entire look of this, and it was Miguel Andujar on left and Clint Frazier in right. I don't think I want that. I really don't think I don't think that's something that I really want to see. So I guess if Judge is out there and Gardner's out there, then put Andujar on left. But if Judge isn't out there, I don't think I want Frazier and Andujar on the corners in the outfield. I think I don't know why that felt like a nightmare that just went through my head, like those two guys out in the corners. But yeah, so like what I just said, Andujar in left if Judge is out there, put out the DH if he's not. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so, and I think you also have to consider Tyler Wade. I mean, Tyler Wade has played the outfield before. He had a good home run Saturday, so did Clint Frazier. Over the weekend, it was Saturday, Sunday. It was against Tampa Bay. But both of them hit the ball well, and for Tyler Wade, he hasn't looked bad in the outfield either. I mean, he's not great, but he's, again, another guy that doesn't really make bad plays in the outfield. So at least it gives a position for Tyler Wade to get a little bit more playing time in addition to sprinkling, taking LeMahieu's spot when he needs a day off or Torres' spot when he needs a day off.
He's impressed me a little bit, Tyler Wade. I've kind of liked what I saw from him. I think he looks his swing, man. That homer he hit, that was no cheapo. That he put a really good swing on that. Like when he came up, it kind of not when he came up. His kind of time with the Yankees, I think you've seen more of a slap hitter. You've seen a guy that just looks to dunk it in over the shortstop's head. You don't see a guy that really kind of rears back and tries to hit the pop. But I think I'm seeing that a little bit. I'm seeing him get into his lower half a little bit. I think he spoke about that with one of the writers, that he spent the offseason kind of working on his lower half, and I think I'm seeing it. The guy's a good defender. He's fast as all hell. So wherever you put him, he's going to make an impact somewhere, at least with his legs. Not at the plate, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm all in all impressed with him so far.
I'm still not ruling out him at least making an impact in some games at the plate. He's not going to be a guy that you expect offense from every day, but he is a guy that maybe can get a big hit every couple of days, kind of bring a spark to the lineup, maybe draw the walk, steals the base, does some of the little things, because this Yankee lineup could still use some of those guys that have a good at-bat and draw a walk or steal a base late or manufacture that much-needed run to help seal the win when your bullpen's as dominant as it is. But maybe that's the role Tyler Wade has to be. He doesn't have to hit 20 home runs, although if he continues with the power that he has, that's always a possibility.
Agreed. And I'll tell you what, if Gleyber Torres made an error at shortstop, I believe, I forget which day it was, but he made an error at shortstop. And if that happens consistently, if that's going to be a thing that reoccurs, I kind of wouldn't rule out Tyler Wade being the shortstop for the Yankees at some point. I really wouldn't.
Let's take a quick dive into Clint Frazier. I mentioned the home run he hit over the weekend. Hitting the ball well in spring training, 3 for 10 with a couple of doubles, in addition to that home run. He hasn't looked bad defensively either, and this is his opportunity. Now, that home run did come on a 3-0 pitch. You're not going to often swing green light on a 3-0 pitch in the regular season, but gets the home run, and he's a guy that, with the concussion problems further behind him, this is going to be his chance to show the Yankees front office what he can do.
I feel like he's kind of had a chance. He's had multiple chances. And I think people are making a little bit of a bigger deal than this is with Clint Frazier trying to get his chance. Guys, Giancarlo saying now Judge will be back by the second series of the year. I don't know if that's a real chance. You see what I'm saying here? Like Aaron Boone said, these aren't long-term injuries in his mind. And we talked about it, he's the positive guy, but he's what Aaron, the manager of the New York Yankees, is telling us, that these are not long-term issues. So really, how much of a chance is Clint Frazier going to get? I think it's inevitable he's going to end up back in AAA unless Mike Tauchman really struggles, like mightily, to the point where he was at the point kind of in the beginning of his time with the Yankees when he got called up. But other than that, I don't know, man. Clint Frazier is not going to get as big of a shot as the perception is right now.
Let me give you a stat that might help on Clint Frazier's side. I know spring training stats aren't the end all be all, but I'll give you a quick one on Clint Frazier I just found. Right now, he leads the Yankees in spring training with 6 walks. That's double everybody else, and he hasn't struck out one time.
There's no doubt that this dude's a force at the plate. Like that's
when you add the plate discipline of the power, that's going to make him even a better player.
Of course, and I'm a big believer in Clint Frazier in the box. I think I said last podcast, 2 podcasts ago, that there was a point in the beginning of the year on that West Coast road trip that you were like, man, just don't. Clint Frazier is one of those guys you can't lose because he was just red hot. Like the dude rakes. We all know he rakes. It's a matter of can he judge a fly ball? Can he do this? Can he do that? There's a lot of factors going to Clint Frazier, but no matter kind of how well he performs here in spring, I still have my doubts at how big of a shot he's actually going to get in the beginning of the year. Because, again, if Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton come back quicker than kind of what everyone's anticipating, he might get a series with the Yankees, like one single series. So I don't see where this big shot is for Clint Frazier.
I guess the big shot would be that you play well, at least to start off with, and you don't get down to AAA. Maybe you stay on the bench and you play like when Stanton and Judge come back, they're not going to play every day. So you're going to need people to fill in for them, at least start off with. I'm not going to put them 100% right away because they'll still be in spring training mode practically. So at least you give Frazier the first month, maybe even the first month and a half. And I think that's still a pretty good sample size for him. At least if Andujar's struggling in the field, you give Clint more reps in the outfield too. So I think he's going to get at least as good a shot now as he's had over the last couple of years.
The only way I see him actually having a decently long stay on this roster is if Miguel Andujar really just isn't hitting. That's really it. Because if you're deciding between Andujar and Frazier, I mean, you almost have to take Andujar because he plays an infield position. He plays third base. Clint Frazier doesn't do anything for you other than play the outfield. Mm-hmm. So just the versatility alone, honestly, it's the only way that, like I said before, the only way Clint Frazier has a lengthy stay on this roster is if Miguel Andujar is off it. I truly believe that.
Or he hits well enough and he becomes a trade chip for you in July. And his stock actually goes up because his stock's really low right now.
Very low, because of what we saw in the outfield last year, which is I've never seen really anyone struggle like that in the outfield, just dropping fly balls at the major league level. So I mean, anytime a team or a fan or whoever sees something like that consistently, it's just incredibly discouraging.
So let's take a look at our weekly Yankee pitching update. Yankees were 6-1 since we last did a podcast, so they are winning games very frequently. They swept Split Squad Saturday. I thought that was pretty cool. Got a chance to watch both those games. That was pretty fun. But, James, I'll throw it to you. Any quick thoughts on the pitching? Montgomery did a good job against Boston. Davey Garcia had a good couple innings against Atlanta. Clark Schmidt has had a good couple outings, although Devers hit a home run off him, but that's nothing to be ashamed about. What have you made of the pitching this week?
I think you know where I'm going to start, and it's stand time, man. Jonathan Loáisiga, there he is. That's the guy I wanted to see. There's the stuff, the 98-mile-an-hour fastball, the curveball that falls off the table, the changeup. It was all there. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts today, no hits, no walks. This dude is nasty. Do I think that they're going to put him in that 5th spot? I don't know, but the one thing I did like to hear is Aaron Boone kind of gave one of his little smirky comments saying, we're going to continue to stretch him out. Is that an indication that he gets the 5th spot? I don't know. So I've seen everything I've expected to see and everything I've wanted to see from Jonathan Loáisiga thus far. And next, I'm going to go with Clark Schmidt. If you follow me on Twitter at O'ConnellNY, you will see that I am absolutely infatuated by Clark Schmidt. Pitching Ninja is infatuated by Clark Schmidt. He got 2 shout-outs on there. The dude is disgusting. I don't think he's going to start the season for the 5th spot or on this roster because, just because the workload and everything, all the factors. I do think he's going to start the season in AAA. But you best believe that this is going to be a contributor to that rotation this year. I have no doubt about it. This is major league stuff that we're looking at. He got Andrew Benintendi strike out, like you said. He gave up a home run to Rafael Devers. Nothing to really be ashamed about there. But this is a guy with a really, really good, impressive delivery and just action in his pitches, man. It's so fun to watch him. I made the comparison, and it might have been getting a little ahead of myself, but he reminds me a little bit of a Corey Kluber, just because of the stuff the stuff. He doesn't have an overly powerful fastball. He's in the low to mid 90s, but that curveball and that changeup, it's something really refreshing to see, because the Yankees have made their appearances on the Pitching Ninja account from time to time, but I haven't seen them have this much praise from a prospect in a long time on Twitter. This is a guy that everyone's buying into the hype about, and honestly, I am all in.
Yeah, I thought Schmidt was impressive. Loizaga, to your point, I think either he's this. We've said it on the show before. He's either this year's Chad Green, or he's a big-time late-inning reliever if somebody gets hurt, because he's getting those short instances, and it's working out for him. I think that's just a role he's defining, and that could help this team down the road. I also like, right now, Davy Garcia. I listened to that game Friday against the Braves. Braves played a lot of regulars in that game. It was at Atlanta's complex. He got a couple of big strikeouts in the first inning, got Acuna to strike out. He fell behind a batter. He got 0-2 on a batter in the second, walked the guy that led to a 2-run home run by Camargo. But listening to the Braves announcers rave about Garcia, and you saw, I think Aaron Boone mentioned him on the Yes telecast on Tuesday. I mean, Garcia is a guy that has now a year more experience with the Major League ball, and you're starting to see at least glimpses of what he can be. And I've seen him fall off. I think MLB Pipeline had him in their top prospect list that just came out behind Clark Schmidt. I still believe it's really close between the two, but Garcia may be getting a little under the radar with the way Schmidt's rapidly progressed and getting that Twitter love from like every Yankee fan possible.
I don't know what it is about Davey Garcia, but he just doesn't do it for me as much as Clark Schmidt does. Is that because he's 5'9"? Is that because I don't know what other factors there would be, but I'm just not as infatuated by Davey Garcia from what I saw as I am with Clark Schmidt. And I could be dead wrong, but we had the founder Rob Himster on this podcast, and we were talking, and he said Clark Schmidt is more of a 2, and Davey Garcia is kind of more of a mid to back end guy. So I see that front of the line guy in Clark Schmidt. I don't know if I see that in Davey Garcia. And again, I could be wrong, but that's just where I stand.
So in addition to hosting this show, I also write columns. And this week I wrote a column about how the Yankees pitching has really been the storyline in spring training. Again, stats are not the biggest indicator, but you look at what the Yankees team as a whole has done pitching-wise, and it's been pretty interesting to watch. Right now, they've got a 3.31 ERA, which 3.19 ERA, excuse me. That's best in the American League, and behind only the Padres and Brewers for the best in baseball. They're holding hitters to a 177 average, 113 strikeouts, just 33 walks. So I think as a whole, when you've watched these games, sure, the offense has come through in different glimpses. You saw it today on Tuesday against the Red Sox when they got that big inning thanks to the Red Sox just being awful defensively. But the pitching as a whole, I mean, they gave 2 hits. Tanaka was great on Tuesday. So really, you've come away from these games outside of a couple of guys against Detroit over the weekend struggling. Yahurey and Ort and Rosa kind of gave up the game late. But again, that's to be expected. You can't predict wins and losses in spring training. But the pitching, you've rarely ever seen them have a bad game through the first third of the spring training slate, and that's a great thing.
People rave about their pitching, man, organizationally from top to bottom. Everyone you talk to said they have some really, really talented arms. And you like to see that given, the state of the injuries here.
Absolutely. And I think also another thing to look at, watching that game against the Red Sox on Saturday, I thought Luis Medina looked really good. And I thought winning a battle with Jackie Bradley in the middle of that game where Bradley's fouling pitches off, but Medina stayed composed, got the strikeout. Maybe he's going to turn a corner a little bit. Saw Luis heal a little bit in that game. So it was a nice glimpse of the future a little bit when the way Jordan Montgomery was, I thought, really good in the first couple innings of that game, and he has made a point with that mid-90s fastball, getting to 94. They didn't have the radar gun on Nesson, but he looked sharp with his command. And at the same time, I think Jay Happ's has pitched pretty well so far. Tanaka, as I mentioned, has been excellent. Garrett Cole's been Garrett Cole. So overall, nobody's really given you anything to ding them on if this is even a 4th-5th start in competition. Nobody's really taking themselves out of it.
I kind of came into spring training really feeling indifferent about Jordan Montgomery. I knew he always felt like a guy to me that would keep you in the game no matter what. He's not going to dominate the game. He might not win your game, but he'll keep you in the game. Luis Medina is a guy that I am very high on, just for the power stuff. His fastball could reach triple digits. How can you not be excited about that? And speaking to the overall success of the Yankees pitching, is this an indication of Matt Blake being good at his job? Is it too early to tell? I don't know, but I don't know who to kind of give credit to here. Is it just because these guys are talented? These guys are talented pitchers and they're performing? It could be, but it's an encouraging sign under a new pitching regime here that players are responding well to this kind of new era of Yankee baseball.
It goes back to something Aaron Boone has mentioned, and Eric Bola mentioned it last week, that scouts love this the pitching wave the Yankees have coming through. And I mentioned it last week on the Parting Shots. Aaron Boone said he loves 16 through 30 in terms of the arms that he's got. To me, it's about what some of these Yankees arms do when they go back down to the minor leagues to start the year. Do they make that progression forward? And that ultimately, I think, is going to determine really where this farm system is. And I'll get into that later in my final thoughts. But a lot of these guys are making good impressions now, to the point where whether they start in the major leagues in the case of Montgomery or they start in the minors with Schmidt, it's about where they take that success. That's going to determine where they end their 2020 campaign. Will they end it at the big league club? Will they end it in AA? Will they end it in AAA? Which, taken with Heel in this case, if he starts off well and ends the year in AAA, that's a great thing. If he ends in AA and has a good end, that's a good thing. So with the health, these arms important, but also the way their performance is, nobody really looks overwhelmed. Yes, maybe some of them aren't facing major league hitting, but in the case like Heel and Medina did in the middle part of that game on Saturday, and that's a good sign for them. Like even Schmidt getting a chance to face Benintendi Endeavors is a learning experience. Mm-hmm.
And speaking to Schmidt, if he goes down to AAA, which I think it's almost inevitable at this point, that's where he's heading, no matter how many screaming Yankee fans are on Twitter. If he goes down there and performs and he's having this dominant run and really overpowering AAA hitters, there's going to be a huge calling for Clark Schmidt to enter that rotation, especially if the likes of Jay Happ or Jordan Montgomery or one of those guys whoever the 5th starter is struggling. There is going to be a roar of Yankee fans calling for Clark Schmidt just because of what we've seen this spring and the hype. I don't remember him being as hyped as he is now. This is kind of the peak of the attention he's received. Sure, last year in the minors he was impressive, but I don't really remember hearing, oh my God, Clark Schmidt, like I'm hearing now. Is that because he's at the major league level in spring training? Probably, but that's going to lead to more people screaming like they were screaming for Gleyber Torres in 2017, 2018 to be called up. You're going to hear something very similar to that with Clark Schmidt.
That's why you got to follow our beat writers of the minor league coverage when the minor league season starts, because they'll give you the Clark Schmidt updates. They'll give you the Davey Garcia updates. We have everybody on the ground, and I think that's going to make the excitement from spring training carry over into the regular season. So we are now providing exclusive minor league content to paid subscribers, their new Dugout membership program. You'll get scouting reports, player interviews, features, minor league spring training coverage is right around the corner, a couple weeks. Going to be down in Tampa. Rob Pinstriped going to be on the ground giving you all the details you need to know and much more in addition to some of our free major league coverage. Sign up today for our Dugout membership programs for either $7 a month or $63 a year. By signing up, you'll have the opportunity to enter contests for game-worn Yankees minor league jerseys and other giveaways throughout the season. So please subscribe today to get that awesome content. So last week we began our minor league position to watch series. We did first base. This week we're going to focus on the other side of the infield diamond, where it's not exactly strong, but maybe we're going to dive more into the perspective on the position. We're going to go to the hot corner. We're going to go to third base. Position formerly occupied by Miguel Andujar, who's now in left field, but we had some time at third, probably at the major league level when Gio Urshela needs a day off. But with the way the Yankees have developed players, lately third base just hasn't really been the big pipeline. Now, Andujar has gotten a lot of attention from it and has benefited from that to a degree. But, James, what do you make of third base, really? We looked at the prospects, and they're not exactly names that we're going to mention that people really know and can memorize off the bat here.
It's about as underwhelming a position that you could find in this farm system. I don't know how many more there are here, but you go through the list. You have Mandy Alvarez here, James Nelson, Wilfred Mateo, Chad Bell. These are all guys that are kind of on the older side of the prospect, kind of some of them still in A-ball. I'm not optimistic at all for kind of with the future of these third basemen here, but that's why you have guys like Miguel Andujar and Gio Urshela up there, because there's nothing really going on down in the system. So you just almost be grateful that you have two very talented, very capable third basemen at the major league level, because there's not much coming.
But I also look at third base as a position that could always change, where you might have a guy that starts at second base or starts at shortstop that moves to third base, and that kind of changes a little bit. I think I saw in Staten Island a couple years ago, Kyle Gray kind of move around the infield diamond a little bit, hitter out of West Virginia, who can play both positions. So that's where we look at this day and age of versatility. Maybe you try out a guy at third base. Maybe that's the way he gets to the big leagues down the road, whether it's for the Yankees or for somebody else. Because with Urshela here at third, down the road, the Yankees at least will have an opening at third base, whether Andujar sticks that position or maybe they develop somebody down the road that takes over.
Agreed. And the most recent example of this was if you remember, in 2017 when the Yankees were getting ready for their run and Chase Headley was kind of horrible, Gleyber Torres was playing third base. And this was a shortstop that they moved over to third base. There's always a possibility of a guy switching positions and going over to the hot corner and developing over there. That can happen. But the names we see right now are not exactly encouraging.
Take a look at Armando Alvarez in particular. This is a guy, 17th round pick in 2016, 25 years old, going to be 26 in July. He's not a guy that's going to jump off the page at you, because you look at that Scranton team last year and it's got so many names you recognize, guys like Mike Ford for a good stretch until he got to the big leagues, Clint Frazier, the list goes on and on. But Alvarez, very sneakily in 66 games, hit about 280, 6 home runs, 44 RBI. He hit over the last part of the season, was about a 278 hitter over the last 31 games he played. So he's not a guy that's going to be very flashy when you look at the stat sheet, but he seems like to be a very steady kind of player. Now, where that fits in the majors, who knows? You've seen him play in these spring training games a little bit. So he's probably the closest guy up, but at least he's a guy that's been in the upper levels of the minor league system for a little bit, got to play most of the year in Trenton in 2018, played about 108 games total that year. Last year played a buck 24 with games played. So he's a guy that's going to be around that 300 on base percentage. There's at least value there, but the question is it good enough to get to that next level?
No, it's not, because the Yankees they have their kind of boxes they have to tick in, and power hitting in general is a huge box. And when you look at a 706 career OPS, that's not going to get you on the New York Yankees.
Other names you can take a look at least on the third base side, the Yankees did make a trade this offseason, brought in a guy in James Nelson from the Marlins, 15th round pick in 2016, has spent the last couple of years at high A ball, has hit below 230 each of the last 2 seasons. We'll see if a change of scenery kind of changes things for him a little bit. They got him in the Stephen Tarpley trade back in January. You also look at Chad Bell, a guy, 19th round pick last year. First year in rookie level, Pulaski did hit 251, but had 9 home runs, 41 RBI, so the power was there, although he had 74 strikeouts. And the other name I'll bring up, a guy I've seen the last couple of years, is Andres Chaparro. He's 20 years old. Yes, he's been in the New York Penn League the last couple of seasons, but his numbers went up drastically. Batting average and on base percentage. The average went up from 191 in 2018 to 246 in 2019. The on base went up from 249 to 366. And watching him and talking with the coaches, this is a player that his plate discipline changed drastically from 18 to 19. And he's a guy that does have some power. The power did go down, but he focused on the walks. And I thought that was interesting to see, where he's not a bad glove at third base either. So he's a player, while you might look at the middle infielders in Charleston and Tampa when the season starts, I would keep an eye on Chaparro. If he can now put the power and the plate discipline together, maybe this is the year he finds it.
you can only go up from 191 average. I don't know how much further you can go down. But so because if you're going down from a 191 average, you're probably in a different league than you are.
No, absolutely. But also your OPS goes up 100 points too. So it could be
of course. You like
in
to
the
see
league.
you like to see improvement. You do like to see improvement from these younger guys, but with this third base position in specifics, I think I'm ready to move on to the final thoughts because there's not much more to get to here.
We'll definitely a good position. Maybe we'll put a poll out this week to have you guys decide what position we talk about. So we'll keep an eye out on one of our Twitter accounts or the Pinstripe Pros Twitter account for that. So let's do some final thoughts. These are always interesting. You never know what we're going to come up with. We don't usually communicate what those are, so that makes it more fun. James, start us up. What's your final thought this week?
So I want to touch on, kind of common perception here was that the guys like Gio Urshela, guys like DJ LeMahieu, it's going to be tough for them to repeat what they did last season. And kind of people are expecting regression from these players. And so far in spring, you've seen the furthest thing from regression. DJ LeMahieu has been seems like the same dude he was in 2019. Gio Urshela just hit a bomb to center field today. These are guys that are going to play key roles for the Yankees this year. And I'm glad that they're kind of silencing some of these doubters that they can't possibly repeat what they did last year because they kind of played out of this world. Is Gio Urshela going to hit 315 with a 900 OPS this year? Maybe not. I don't know. But if he can be some sort of contributor at the plate, that glove is good enough to keep him at the position the entire season and for a good amount of time after that. So just kind of looking at Urshela's spring so far, I've been happy with what I've seen. And DJ LeMahieu is creaking open that door further that he's still that dude, and the Yankees should be negotiating a contract extension ASAP. So that is my final thought.
Interesting thought there. My thought, I'm going to go, not towards Steven Matz, because I don't think the Yankees should even trade the Mets for Steven Matz. You got to
Brian Cashman debunked that. He said we're not talking to anyone about pitching, and I mean, nevertheless, the Mets will make a trade with the Yankees. So let's put that one to rest.
You have to have the desperate pitching premium plus the Yankee premium, and that's like buying like a bunch of Rolls Royces, a couple Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
When you're asking Davey Garcia for Steven Matz, that's where I'm like, nah, no thanks. You can keep him. But my thought's going to be about the farm system rankings. And this is also a shameless plug to catch our top 50 rankings over at pinstripeprospects.com. If you have a subscription, you can read all of our player breakdowns. So that's even another reason to go get a Dugout subscription today. But there was a lot of different ranking systems that came out this week. Keith Law at The Athletic, formerly of ESPN, had the Yankees very high on his list. He had the Yankees at, I believe it was 6th in all baseball. You have MILB.com, who kind of sums up their positional rankings and pitching rankings, had the Yankees at 18th. So there's different length. And now, different players, different people are going to evaluate different prospects their own way. You're not going to get a consensus a lot of the time. To me, and this is just my opinion, I think the Yankees are more toward the middle than top 10 in baseball. Now, that's not a bad thing, because you have to consider a lot of the younger players have graduated to the major leagues, which is a good thing. It's tough to be a great team and have a great farm system at the same time, because you could be trading pieces, things like that. To me, you look at Keith Law's system, and it's really about the upside of these younger players, and that's true. That's why I mentioned at the top of the show, the Yankees they're going to follow what these guys do at the lower levels and see how they move up, or how quick they move up, or what their 2020 season is like, and that's going to change your perspective going into next year. To me, they're like closer like the 15 range, because they have a good mix of lower level guys that have a lot of upside, a lot of promise to them, and a good mix of upper level guys, the Schmidts, the Nick Nelsons, the Garcias, the Ahures. They have different, Luis Gil, the different players that can at least make a case to contribute at the upper levels in 2020. So while they're not the Rays, they're not the Padres, they're not the Braves, I don't put the Yankees in that stratosphere of farm systems. But they're, I think, right in the perfect spot. They're not awful in the farm system like the Brewers, but they're not the Tampa Bay Rays. They're right in the middle, and it's a good thing for the system.
So I
think we'll wrap it up here. We got to go right. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I thought the 6th rank was a little bit of a stretch because the Yankees don't so sure that you have Jason Dominguez here, but they don't have that top 10 prospect in the game like they did when they had with Glaber. So I do think the number 6 is a stretch, but maybe it's a case of Keith Law being extremely high on those talented arms that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, different people evaluate players differently. That's a lot to say, but it goes in spurts. But you look at the Yankees this week. I'm excited for Thursday. You ask why I'm excited for Thursday? Because, well, if you got MILB TV or MLB Network at 1 o'clock, Garrett Cole against Casey Mize. That's a great spring training pitching matchup for guys that might go 3 innings.
That's something to circle on the calendar.
The now versus the future, and I've been a big Casey Mize guy doing the draft here at Pinstripe the last couple of years. Got to at least talk to some guys about Casey Mize, so I'm excited for that one myself. A couple good, obviously spring training is in full swing. You'll see the regulars play a little bit more. Yankees have been winning a lot lately in spring training. That's always good. I'd like to see losses, but they don't count. But winning is cool. James, where can they follow you on Twitter? I know you've got a lot to say about other sports, preferably a certain basketball team that likes to use different entrances.
So I root for an incredibly good basketball team, the New York Knicks. They're so confident. They don't throw fans out of their arena. So you can follow me and listen to me talk about that great franchise at O'Connell NY on Twitter. I won't get into it on here, even though I badly do want to. But yeah, you'll see me talking about the Yankees, the Knicks, and some golf now with the Players Championship coming up, and other things not too far ahead after that. So yeah, at O'Connell NY.
You can catch my show, Kicking with Keel, every Thursday on Full Press Radio, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a little conference championship basketball with championship week coming up. We'll do a little bit of football free agency, a little baseball. So you get a little bit of everything on my show. Again, Thursday at 8:30 on Full Press Radio. We want to remind you, of course, go to pinstripeprospects.com. You can catch my column about the Yankees pitchers shining in early stages of spring training. So you like listening to my voice. Maybe you'll like reading my words too. So you definitely go there and check that out. We have more on when Yankees minor league camp opens and when games start. Check that out. Yankees teaming up with Amazon Prime. We have an article on that to air some games. So a lot of different things at pinstripeprospects.com. We're going to start unveiling more as the weeks go on, as we get closer to the start of the regular season. Again, follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Call into our voicemail number, 908-376-6360. Give your thoughts on a prospect, something that stood out to you in spring training. Ask us a question. Send us some feedback. We obviously appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Rickinator555. It's at RICK, Nair like a Turnier 555. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Download us. Give us your rating. We hope it's 5 stars. We want it to be 5 stars, but tell us what you think. We definitely would love to hear from you throughout the week. We'll be back next week with all new Yankee content. We're happy to be back with you guys for episode number 6. Until then, for James O'Connell, I'm Ricky Keeler saying hope you have a great week. Enjoy more Yankees baseball, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.